This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1162 of Horse Tip Daily, your almost everyday morsel of helpful hints, useful facts, and practical techniques for horse folks. Brought to you today by Kentucky Performance Products. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip features dressage radio show co-hosts Reese Kofler-Stanfield and Philip Parks, and they're having a chat with Endel about transitions. And we'll get right to our tip after this from Kentucky Performance Products.
Her life was falling apart around her, but when she saw his sweet face and heard the low nicker, the pain eased. She stood in the stall for some time, running a brush over his sleek coat, down his powerful muscles and over his tight, cool tendons. He cocked his back leg, waiting patiently. She scratched his favorite spot and was rewarded with a crinkled smile and outstretched neck. The stress flowed from her body, and she knew with him in her life, she would make it through. This love story is brought to you by Endure Extra, providing high-fat calories, direct-fed microbials, and natural vitamin E to support optimal condition and performance. The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Call 859-873-2974 or visit kppusa.com to order today.
Today we have Endel. He is just represented the United States at Verdun with a 5 and a 6-year-old. So this week he's doing a total saddle fit tip of the week for us. And next week he's going to come back on the show and be our headliner and talk about his experience at Verdun, the World Championship for Young Horses. Well, this evening, I am so excited for our Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week to have Endel, who represented the United States at Verdun this year. Endel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Well, Endel, what is your Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week for us?
The tip, I would say, one of the big things that I took away from being over in Europe and watching the young horse classes over there and watching all the top riders ride there, big thing that separates the top riders and the top young horse riders are the transitions. Of course, you have to do a clean test, have to have a big extended trot, clean walk, big walk, good walk pirouettes, half passes and everything. But the transitions, that you do not show the judges any loss of connection, any loss of rhythm, that it is just seamless. So they practice. When I was at Hans Meyer, who's Roland's place, and he's the young horse coach for the German team, he practices transitions again and again and again and again and again until you're blue in the face and until they're almost perfect, because they're never perfect. But that is the big thing, I would say, especially in young horse classes, the transition part, to really, really focus on that.
Well, after riding so many transitions and trying to make them perfect, what do you think are some keys to making good transitions? Because we can always practice transitions, but I think they have to be practiced correctly.
A big thing I would be in there is to make sure that the rhythm is clean. So if you're going from trot to walk, that there's no stumble step or balance step in between, from walk to canter, that you go from walk to a clear canter, that the canter does not rush off or fall out of balance afterwards. And even to think about if you're doing a simple change, you do a nice big canter into a walk, the walk shouldn't be too slow. It should match the canter that happened beforehand. So you really try to tie in the gait that you did before the transition through the transition, and then right afterwards it should match it. So it really has to flow in a really nice way. So if you go you do a simple change from a canter to walk to canter again, and the horse maybe slows down a little bit too much in the walk, ride it a little bit forward and a little bit sideways in there, so that then the canter goes forward. And you may have a little balance issues here and there, but to work it so that it balances out, and that it gets a lot more seamless in between.
And how do you ride a backwards transition without pulling on the horse's mouth? What's the key to the connection there?
I would say that. Okay. That's hard.
We're gonna put you on the spot.
Man, he's tough tonight.
I'll take door number 2. I'll do my Yoda impression instead. No, I would say that I mean, you do have to pull back on the reins to get them to listen a little bit in there, but you need to make sure that the horse in general, if you slow them down a little bit, it's like a car, changing gears from first gear to second gear, or slowing down in the gears, that you have enough rev in the engine, or you have enough go in the horse that you feel like it can jump, that it doesn't stall out. So you ride enough gas beforehand that if you're going to go into a walk transition on a horse that maybe slows down too much in the walk, that you ride that canter just a little bit quicker before the walk transition, and vice versa. If your horse is too fast in the walk, you ride that canter a little bit slower beforehand. So you almost ride the gate that you're going to go into beforehand, before the actual transition, so that it can slide through a little bit better. And it sounds good. I just made it up.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
That was a good one. So I know for our listeners, like when we talk about riding transitions to your blue in the face, let's just with an average adult amateur, talk to us about how often you would ride and how many transitions you would ride per day, which is a tough.
I would say I think that's a tough question. I think on your average adult amateur, I think it depends, because what you're looking for in those tests. I mean, I try to always think about what am I showing? I mean, if I'm showing a young horse class, I'm going to ride a little bit different than if I'm doing a CDI class, or I'm going to do a national class or something else. It's every class is just slightly different in what you're doing. So I would say for the average adult amateur, I would say you want to do the transition so that they improve the work. So first off, you have a clean test. You want to have a clean test first, and then if you want to, so if you have maybe a horse that, that you work on the transition, say your canter is a little bit too forward and falling out of balance. A lot of canter walk canter, or canter rein back canter in there, so that they wait and balance, so that you use those transitions as a period to get the aids through a little bit more with the horse, so that the horse does not, a transition, if you really think about it, and you can use it in your work and schooling at home, you use it because the half halts or the leg aids or the balancing aids, it can flow through a transition a little bit slower than maybe you need a quick answer. Maybe you're doing a half pass, so you need the horse to answer just a quick balancing half halt and go forward. Well, if they don't answer that balancing half halt and then, go forward right afterwards, a trot walk transition there, just to say, oh, wait, walk, okay, listen to my half halt, okay, now trot forward again. So I think about it in that instance, for an adult amateur to get a Prix St. George test or a Grand Prix test, you want to think about first, how do you make the test clean? Once the test is clean, then you want to think, okay, how can I make it more brilliant? How can I get more points on it? How can I lose less points on it?
Fantastic.
Yeah, good answer.
Great answer, Endel. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show again. If our listeners want to find you online, Endel, how do they do that?
My website is endelotsdressage.com. Email address is endelots@gmail.com. And you can find me online there. And, of course, Facebook and everything like that, it's all up there. Also have a Facebook page for the business, which is OTS Dressage on Facebook. And if you like me on there, message me on there. I'm happy to get back, and I'm happy to answer any questions from anybody. And also, especially, I have to say, I get some nice questions from young riders and different young people in the sport. And I mean, I've had still working on my career and still working on the horses and always moving forward. But I enjoy to get emails from people, asking for advice or asking for things, or, just to, ask questions here and there. And I really enjoy it. When I was a young rider, I sent some emails out to other top professionals and never heard back from them. And I never got the questions that I asked, or it was very vague and not very helpful. And I may take a little bit to get back to you sometimes if I'm traveling, but I love people calling and asking a little question about something, and I make time for that. I think it's very important.
Well, there you have it. You can find links to today's guests as well as lots more tips at horsetipdaily.com. Make sure to have all of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go with the free Horse Radio Network app for iPhone or Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. Download it today. It's quick, it's free, and it's easy. And if you're old-fashioned, you can subscribe via iTunes. This podcast was made possible through the generous support of Kentucky Performance Products and listeners like you. Learn how you can help support Horse Radio Network programming and qualify for auditors-only perks by going to horsetipdaily.com and clicking on the Become an Auditor banner in the center of the page. This is Coach Jen, and I'll be back soon with another tip. So until then, go ride your horse! The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.